Welcome, everybody. This is Tim Thiessen Live, broadcasting from the palatial studios of CentralValleyTalk.com here in the Tire District in Fresno. Once again, we have a great show lined up for you today. We have my first guest is going to be Vic Corkins on home inspections and the importance and why you need to do that when you're purchasing a home or commercial building or any kind of a property. Our second guest today will be Jose Nunez from CalPrime Realty. He's a specialist in selling HUD homes, and that's a very specific market, and there's a lot of confusion around that, and we're going to clear up some of those issues today and give you, the real estate buyer, access to some new information that's going to help you in your purchase. And then following that is going to be Michael Turnipseed from Kern County Taxpayers Association today. He is going to be talking to us about the tiered rates of PG&E and a lot of the effects it's having on us. And so we're looking forward to talking to Michael also about what's going on in Kern County. So anyway, once again, my friends, this is the message of this program is hope, growth, and prosperity. Any direction that our government takes us other than that is the wrong direction. So with no further ado, we're going to go to our first guest, Vic Corkins. He's a home inspector from Porterville. He covers this area. And Vic, welcome, and thanks for coming on board.
Glad to do it.
Vic, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background, and
Okay.
we'll get started here.
Yeah, I was born and raised as a kid in Montana and then moved to California, up in the San Joaquin Valley about 1961. Involved in farming for a lot of years, and then in the ag chem business, doing some construction on the side. It was kind of a lead into one of my jobs, which is home inspections. Been doing that for 6-7 years. But with a background in construction and everything, it made it kind of a natural flow, and went to some specialized training. And doing the home inspections all the way from Clovis on down to LA, actually.
Well, and matter of fact, that's how I met Vic, is through a mutual friend of ours who actually he plays cards with. I think you're playing cards with him tonight.
We're going to do it. I'm going to try to clean him out.
Doug Peltzer down in Porterville. Anyway, and I started to use Vic in my real estate business for conducting home inspections, and he has really presented himself to be very professional, very thorough, and he truly represents the buyers in these transactions. But he does it in a fair manner, because a lot of times, and we're going to get into that a little bit today, Vic, about inspectors that get too proactive sometimes, and they cause deals to fall out of bed. So anyway, in this day and age of a lot of foreclosed homes, short sale homes, still a few regular open market sales, tell us a little bit about the things that you're looking for, or what's involved in inspection. When you arrive at a property and you meet with the buyers, who are going to be paying you for your services?
Exactly. The buyer is who I represent. I'm there they're paying for the inspection, and they want to know about the house they're buying. And that's why I like to have the buyers there. They'll get an extensive report from me and everything like that, but it's better when they're there. I can point things out, can ask questions, and not be an alarmist about anything that we find. Okay, that should be fixed, or this is what you've got, and if you choose to live with it, that's fine. It's not a pass-fail inspection. It's to let the buyer know that structurally, whether it's sound, electrically, functional, plumbing, and so forth, and it's just to let them know what they have, and if they choose to do something about it, that's really up to them. But I'm not there to be an alarmist, just to present it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of questions that come up, and a lot of real estate agents really shy away from inspectors, and inspectors have kind of been given a bad name, but this is really for everyone's protection, buyer and seller and everything else, because I'm going to have you go into a few things about non-conforming but still legal, because a lot of homes on the market have been built. The one I live in out at the ranch is was built in 1907, the original part. It's been updated, upgraded. Barbara and I have a very nice home.
Right.
But there are things that when these homes were built, even in the 80s, there's new codes coming in, and so if you had to build the same house today, you wouldn't be in compliance, but it's still legal. And as long as there's not a safety factor, if you want to talk about that a bit.
And that's the reason for it. Your house in 1907 started off with knob and tube wiring, which has since been replaced because of ages and the rats and such can chew on it, so it changes. And you can buy a house that 50s, 60s, 70s, whatever, may not have GFI criteria or smoke detectors and things like that, but I will point it out why you would want to have those safety features. Not expensive, but you need to kind of know so that when you have a peace of mind about the house you're moving into, no, you don't have to go renovate this and do that and everything. But
Sure.
safety, these are the kind of things you want to look at and things you might want to correct. We want to look, make sure the roof is sound. We don't have sagging rafters and things like that. That, or in some cases, I've been on one with you where the interior wall, the bearing wall, has been removed, and those become issues that the buyers need to know about. And the normal buyer doesn't walk into a house knowing those kind of things. So I point them out, then they can make the decisions as to what they're willing to pay for in terms of repairs and so forth. And it's just to augment that process. And I really feel very strongly that it's in the buyer's interest to know what they're getting into. I'm not there to be an alarmist, but I want them to know this is the things they can do with their house. They can choose to accept to not have the GFI. Or a lot of wiring initially was with 2-wire outlets, and when people replace them, they put in the 3-prong. Well, that doesn't have the what I call an appliance ground. But as long as you know what you're getting into, it doesn't mean it's not that it's unsafe. As long as you know, so it's to make them aware of what type of thing they're living with inside their house.
Oh, absolutely. And when the because there's been some upgrades, but there's several inspections that you've done for me where you've turned that up, and it's not a big issue, but you need to know that this plug has a ground wire accommodation on it, but it is not grounded. So do not
correct.
treat it with respect, and you'll be okay. Another issue that comes up too here lately, because we're having a tremendous amount of homes coming on the market now that are 3, 4, 5 years old, a lot of foreclosures, and our next segment will be getting into the dynamics of that. But I've had buyers that have been very reluctant to say, well, the home is almost new, and I'm sure you can tell me some stories too. I had one case. I sold a home that was 2 years old, and it was supposed to be inspected and everything by the local authorities. And the tub shower valve was in backwards. So as you're turning the water off, okay, it becomes hotter. It's supposed to be getting colder, and that's a definite safety issue.
I have found that to happen.
And so I don't know if you have any other instances where you've unearthed things in new homes, and nothing against the builder and things, but sometimes
Absolutely.
We have human error here.
A real classic example that comes to mind on a new home, nice home in a nice area, but it was one of those that had the soil type ran in streaks, and they had a calcareous subsoil that ran in streaks in this particular tract of houses, and they didn't get any percolation of the water. They got a lot of hydraulic action on the slab, broke the slab. People went to replace some linoleum and things and found these gaping holes all the way to the dirt. And so, hey, we went straight to the manufacturer of the home and got some action. They weren't getting it prior to that. But it just points out that you can't assume that everything's good right with a new house. Most of the time it is. But you want to find out those kind of, you move into that house, and now you find out, now you're in for it's a whole new ball game.
Well, and that's even like on some of the newer homes too. We've had the neutral wires at the box have been disconnected, and things are just not correct. Talking about slabs, I've had 2 instances here in the last month where I've had slab problems. One, a client of mine is moving into a temporary rental. She's not buying, but I noticed it right off the bat, and there's this huge crack. And then I received a call from a client that I sold him a home 2 years ago, and there had been a little bit of a blemish. Matter of fact, that one over in Kingsburg, you had inspected that one. There was a little bit of a blemish, and we just thought it was bad linoleum in the kitchen. And now there's a 1-inch offset in that floor. What causes that, Vic, for that slab to give that much?
A couple of different things. Soil type has all the difference in the world on it, depending. And I really look closely at the soil type. You got a sandy soil, you're not so inclined to that. But where we live in areas where we've got high clay content and so forth, and adobe tends to move a lot with the moisture. If that slab wasn't put together with the proper amount of reinforcement and rebar to begin with, it can drop out on you. It can move, it can shift, it can break. I did one that one corner dropped off, and you really didn't even see it on the roof. But you could put a ball on the floor, and it would roll.
Really?
Tells you that the slab had dropped off. And so it is important. Do the periphery, check it, make sure you don't have any cracks on the outside that show. And then on the inside of the house, look for those types of things. The separation of linoleum is really unforgiving in terms of seeing where it's settled out. Tile, you get broken tile. It's a real indicator. But it really, and especially in the day and age of a large-scale manufactured homes, or homes that are, you got a contractor that's subbing out the concrete, the framing, and so forth. Yet all it takes is one of those guys not to be doing their jobs, and you end up with a problem. So it is important to check all aspects of the building of that house.
Okay, very good, Vic. As we wind up here and go into the break, if you could give us briefly your price structure, how you break down the cost of the inspections here.
Certainly, yes. Like I say, I represent the buyer, and a house up to about 1,500 square foot, I charge $225, and over that, $250, and if you get up into the larger houses, maybe as much as $300, and it's usually at the time of the inspection. And my inspection doesn't stop then. You know, you call me back later on, there's a problem I don't understand. I come back up there, there's no additional charge. I want people to be aware of what they're getting into. I'm not trying to be an alarmist to kill a sale. I'm not in it for that. I want the people to know what they've got, and then they can make the decision on whether they want to buy the house or not.
Okay, very good. Now, I'll tell you, the money you spend on an inspection from first-hand experience as a licensed realtor is the best money you're going to spend on your purchase. So anyway, Vic, I want to thank you for coming on board today, and we're going to take a short commercial break, and we're going to be right back. Stay put.